Well, good evening and welcome to Southside Christmas 2024. I'm so incredibly glad that each of you joined us this evening. I want to invite you to stand to your feet. We're going to sing some Christmas songs as we get started here all together.
Let every heart His glory by, born and then no more may die, but to raise the sons of earth, born to give them second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
It's so fun to do Christmas services like this. You know, full band, everyone dressing up, and the team who built this stage and this design and put up these incredible decorations did such an amazing job. It's fun to go big for Christmas. But I think it's equally important to be able to take a step back and leave some space to reflect. We're going to sing a song about Jesus born in a manger thousands of years ago, the Savior of the world who was promised finally coming to earth. And when Jake and I were chatting about this song a couple of weeks back, he mentioned his favorite line is, "The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight." And that line makes me think of you and me. Each of us here this morning with our own stories of how we got to be here today. And maybe you think that you're at this particular service for no particular reason, but I believe that it's on purpose. Each of us here with our own unique hopes and fears, and I believe that Jesus is here to meet us right where we're at.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie above thy deep and dreamless sleep. The silent stars go by, yet in thy dark streets shine the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. O holy child of Bethlehem, descend to us, we pray. Cast out our sin and enter in. Be born in us today. We hear the Christmas angels, the great glad tidings tell. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel.
If you're around Southside for any length of time, you're bound to hear someone say there's no mission like this mission. Our mission here is simple. Southside exists to make Jesus known by bringing help, hope, and home to Chilliwack and beyond. Help that reaches past the four walls of our church, because life is hard and the people of our city need support that goes beyond thoughts and prayers. Home because everyone needs a place where they belong. And hope because that's what it's all about. You see, hope has a name. And that name is Jesus. And we will do whatever it takes to ensure the people around us experience his hope. One life, one story at a time. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1.
See, there's this old man, he's sitting on a bench overlooking the ocean. And it comes to his attention, there's a little boy on the shore. And what this little boy is doing, this little boy is just picking up starfish. And he's throwing them back into the ocean. The high tide has receded, stranding thousands and thousands and thousands of starfish that are going to shrivel up and die. So this little boy is walking along, he's picking up starfish, he's throwing them back into the ocean. And finally, the old man can't take it anymore. He's like, hey, kid! Hey, kid, what are you doing? You understand, like, there's millions of starfish on this beach, right? Go play. Go have fun. You're making no difference. The little boy glances at the older man, and he turns and he picks up a starfish. He throws it into the water, and he whispers to himself, made a difference to that one. This is why we do what we do.
Looking back on this year, what we have seen God do is nothing short of a miracle. He's used each of us to make a difference over and over again. At Southside, we believe that investing in the next generation is worth everything. On Wednesdays, Southside Youth welcomes around 200 students each week, a place where teenagers can feel supported and right at home. Astonishingly, 132 students prayed to accept Jesus for the first time this year, and 59 were baptized. Our Southside Kids welcomes over 400 kids every week. Those 400 kids are learning about the love of Jesus and the amazing plans he has for their lives in a fun way, at their level. This year, we gave almost $1 million through our help ministries, including our biggest and brightest All Is Bright Christmas initiative ever. For All Is Bright, we brought $500,000 back to our city in tangible help. With over 2,000 volunteers shopping, wrapping, and delivering, we did all we could to ensure that no single parent would struggle to provide food for their family over the holidays, and no child would wake up Christmas morning without a gift. In total, 15,000 wrapped gifts and hampers were delivered to families all over our city. Each week, the number of people who gather in person and online for our Sunday services has grown to an average of 3,500 people. Over 550 people volunteer on our home team week to week. A number that we're still trying to wrap our minds around is the remarkable 273 people who took their next step of faith and got baptized this year. And then, the most staggering number of all, in 2024, a historic 1,507 people raised their hands and prayed to invite Jesus into their lives for the very first time. This is who we are. One life, one story at a time. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. And all together, we represent an extraordinary move of God. We know that God has put bold faith and irrational generosity in the DNA of our church. We know that next year we'll continue to see those numbers climb, and one by one we'll see families restored, marriages strengthened, the next generation supported, and eternities secured. We will continue to see our city reached and other cities like it for decades to come. Over and over again, we will hear God call us to more, and one by one, He'll show us that the best is still yet to come. Merry Christmas, Southside.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tori, and it's great to be here with you all this Christmas. We know that for many of you, this is your very first time either in person or online with us. You may have received an invite from a friend or family member, seen an Instagram post, or Googled churches in Chilliwack Christmas and ended up here. If that's you, you should know that we don't think it's an accident that you're here. And also, we don't take it lightly that you've carved time out of your busy Christmas season to celebrate with us. If you're new to Southside, whether you're watching online or here in person, we want to give you a big welcome. We want you to know that we exist for you, no matter how you walked in today or what questions you have about God, Christianity, or church. We'd also love to hear from you, and it's super easy. Just text the keyword hello to us at 604-670-3040. When you do, we'll send you a link to our digital connections card. It's a great way for us to get to know you better, answer any questions you might have, and make sure your Christmas with us has been amazing. Plus, as a Christmas gift to you, after you fill it out, we'll send you a $5 Starbucks e-card. If you're new here, I want to point out a couple of areas in our building. For your convenience, we've created spaces for you to continue to hear the message should you need to step out of our auditorium. Those spaces include our nursing mom's room and our parent area for parents with babies who might get hungry, bored, or need a change during our service. We also have our accessible service area, which was designed for families with teenaged and adult loved ones with diverse abilities. All of these areas can be found in the lobby and each feature a simulcast of the service. So if you step out, you won't miss a thing. We just watched our 2024 in review video together, and what an unbelievable snapshot of all that God did in and through our church this year. At Southside, we believe in bringing help, hope, and home to our city, not just church people, real people like you and me, our kids, our neighbors, and our friends. In this room and watching online throughout these services alone are thousands and thousands of stories. Something that's hard to wrap our heads around is that some of us here have a heavy heart because of broken or dysfunctional families. Some of us have recently received a devastating diagnosis from a doctor. Some of us are carrying children, not knowing how to provide for them when they're born. Some of us are struggling with addiction and sobriety feels impossible. Others are struggling to provide food and necessities for our families because life is expensive. Some of us experienced a death of a loved one this year, and Christmas doesn't feel the same. And for many of us here today, simply put, life feels heavy. Depression, anxiety, and fear color each day, and hope feels out of reach. The incredible thing about Jesus is that because of him, hope is what we get to specialize in. He's uniquely called us as a church to equip your story, my story, and the stories of the people in your life with hope for tomorrow and all the tomorrows that follow. We've seen God bring about countless miracles in 2024. Marriages and families revived, illnesses healed, new moms in crisis equipped, addictions broken, food for the hungry, comfort for the hurting, hope for the hopeless. We could go around the room right now and ask the people watching online here today too, to stand up and share how God worked through Southside Church this year to impact their story. And quite honestly, we would be here for days. You see, God works through ordinary people like you and like me to answer prayers in extraordinary ways. And we know that he's already planning to move through more stories in 2025 through our church. That's why, for me and my family, giving here never gets old. I know that God is allowing us to be part of the Christmas pageant that's happening right now in Southside Kids, where those kids are dressed as shepherds or angels, making memories and learning truths about Jesus that they will hold in their hearts for a lifetime. We get to make sure that one more family is fed and one more child wakes up Christmas morning to presents under the tree. And we get to make sure that one more person finally grasps the eternity-altering love of Jesus. So I would love to invite you now to sow financially into 2025 in faith with me, knowing that God will bless and amplify every dollar you sacrifice today. Maybe you're new here, or maybe you've been with us for a while and you've never given financially to Southside before. Let me tell you that something miraculous happens when we sacrifice to give to other people. So if right now you want to give to help continue to fund life change this year and into the next, it's easy. Just text the keyword give to 604-670-3040. You'll receive a link back with all the online ways you can start giving today. And if online giving isn't your thing, the Giving Desk team in the lobby would love to help you. All right, it's now time for the final Southside sermon of 2024, and it's absolutely incredible. Quick reminder to silence your phones and remain seated throughout the message as we maintain a distraction-free environment in the auditorium and for those watching online today. Today, Pastor Mike has an amazing Christmas message prepared for us, so let's lean in and get ready. Merry Christmas, and please enjoy the rest of the service.
Southside Christmas 2024, man. Whether you're joining us online or here in this room, I'm grateful for this time that we get to spend together. It's the time of year when you hear a lot of people say, man, I can't believe it's Christmas already. You know what I mean? Like, time sure flies. I always scoff at those people in my mind because I'm like, well, right around 12 months has passed since last Christmas, 365 days, 52 weeks, 8,700 hours, and here we are again. It just happened. Except this year is different. This year I know what they have been meaning all this time. Time really flew in 2024. It feels like just a few months ago, I was up here talking about Christmas 2023. Now, part of the reason for that is because I've had a recurring nightmare since Christmas of 2023. A disturbing incident occurred during last year's Christmas services. I'll tell you about it, actually. So I'm up here. I think we had 5 services last year. We have 6 this year, but it was the third of 5 Christmas services, okay? So I'm up here. I'm finishing up my sermon, and the band is coming up behind me because we're going to play Holy Night to end the service. We're going to do that again today, but we got a little twist. It's going to be awesome. But anyways, so third of 5 services, I'm up there. I'm finishing off my sermon. The band's coming up behind me. I'm like, Merry Christmas, and I walk off. And our keyboard player, Caitlin, is like, Mike. She's like fiercely whispering, Mike. I'm thinking she's talking about her microphone isn't turned on or something like that. But finally I glance over and she's frantically calling me over. I'm like, what's up, Caitlin? She's like, there's a hole in the back of your pants. I'm like, not a chance. Caitlin, there's no way that can happen to me. There's 1,000 people in this room right now. Like, there's some law in the universe that says that you can't have a hole in the back of your pants when you're standing in front of 1,000 people. She's like, well, there's a hole in the back of your pants. I'm like, is it tiny? She said, no, it's pretty big. And so I've saved the pants since last year. I thought you might want to know how big the hole was. Right, just a little bit of research for you. Here it is. That's the hole that was in the back of my pants. That was it. Recurring nightmare. Now, as far as I know, no one even noticed except for Caitlin. But the part that really bugs me, to be completely honest, and since might as well, I'm a pastor, I should be honest, I'm really annoyed at the band. Like, they're standing behind me the whole time. Only Caitlin said, the rest of them were just like, I walk off the stage, they're like, good job, Mike, well done. Looking at each other, oh, holy night indeed, am I right, Hey, Mike, why don't you go to the lobby and make some new friends? I thought I should share that with you just so that you know that while the band is tremendously gifted, incredibly good looking, and innately talented, they're also a bunch of jerks. So you can just keep that in the back of your mind. I'm gonna move these. I'm gonna put them in a spot where maybe a member of the band might trip on them as they come back later. That'd be fun. Time flies, We're watching that year-end video of everything that happened, or not everything, but just a glimpse of what happened in 2024. And I really appreciated kind of what Tori said about the fact that here we are at the end of the year. This is the last service before the end of 2024. And people talk sometimes like, hey man, like you got to organizationally, you have to understand, governmentally, you have to understand, like, taxationally, you have to understand that you can give a gift at the end of 2024, and I don't really understand all that stuff. So for me, I just kind of think spiritually. And so for my family and me, the reason that we are giving to end this year is that we want to make a financial statement of faith. We want to make a statement of faith with our generosity that says this: 2024 was awesome, but the best is still yet to come. That 2025 is going to be our best year yet. Specifically, here's what I mean. I believe that God's going to use us to bring more help, more hope, more together, more belonging, more connection than ever before. So I want to invite you, I guess, to join us as we do that, as we make a statement of faith with our generosity. Yours might look completely different than mine, but that's what we're doing, because I really believe that in 2025, we're going to see God do something crazy. Listen to this. Listen, this is crazy. I actually think he's going to do this. He's going to change the world. He's going to change the city. One life, one story at a time. A couple of weeks ago, we started asking this hypothetical question. Listen. We asked this. What if there was no such thing as Christmas? What if Christmas had never happened? And then 2 weeks ago, we answered it from a historical perspective. Last week, we answered it, believe it or not, from a musical perspective. And this week, I want to answer it from a personal perspective. I want to tell you my story. In fact, I made up a storybook just for you. My Christmas story. You can read. I didn't have to say that, but that's what it says. Sometimes people will come up to me and they'll say, Mike, you have a really unique story. And I mean, I guess that's true, right? There's a unique nature to your story, and to my story. Each of us is unique. And yet, here's what's amazing. As I tell you my Christmas story today, you're going to be struck over and over and over again how much you and me have in common. To the degree that I'm going to make a bold statement that by the end of today, I'm going to suggest that this just as easily should be called our Christmas story. So chapter 1 of my Christmas story isn't about trees and tinsel. It's not about wrapping paper and presents. It's not about turkey and stuffing. In fact, chapter 1 of my Christmas story is set on a school bus. One of my earliest memories comes from when I was 5 years old. It was my first day of grade 1, and I remember waiting for that school bus. See, our family lived out in the country about half an hour outside of Red Deer, Alberta, in a subdivision. All us subdivision country kids got to ride the school bus half an hour into Red Deer, half an hour home at the end of the day. Man, I was so excited about my first day of grade 1. I was so stoked, so convinced that it was going to be unreal. I still remember what I was wearing as I stood there waiting for the bus. I had this white jacket on my mom had bought me, and it had all different colored bicycles on it. I remember that I was holding a Snoopy lunch kit, and I had the highest of hopes, you know. Not only was I excited about school, but the school bus. Are you kidding me? Because I had seen this show called Sesame Street, and on Sesame Street, they sang this song, and it went like this. It said, the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. So I was pretty convinced that when I got on that bus, we would sing a chorus of the wheels on the bus all the way to school. You know what? Just a little kid with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and the highest of hopes. And then the bus showed up and I got on. And we didn't sing any choruses of the wheels on the bus go round and round. We didn't. Instead, what happened is from the first second I got on that bus, some older kids on that bus decided, I still don't really know why, they decided they didn't like me at all. And what that started for me was years of bullying. To the degree that I dreaded every morning getting on that stupid bus, every afternoon getting back on that stupid school bus. To put it simply, I went from a 5-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and the highest of hopes to a 5-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket, a Snoopy lunch kit, and a broken heart. It's amazing, right? Isn't it amazing how much you and I have in common? You have a school bus moment too, even if it didn't happen on a school bus. There's been moments in your life when you've gone from the highest of hopes to a broken heart. Your expectations were sky high. And looking back now, potentially you had every right to feel that way. You had every right to expect that. But it didn't work out that way, and you went from the highest of hopes to a broken heart. Isn't it incredible how much you and me have in common? I walked away from that moment a changed kid, sad, scared, and alone. I wonder if you feel that way sometimes. Sitting in a room like this, maybe full of people, and yet feeling profoundly alone. It's really amazing how much you and I have in common. The next chapter of my Christmas story, well, it takes place in an empty classroom. It was my last day of grade 4. So I went to River Glen School in Red Deer, Alberta, and everybody knew at River Glen, you needed to look forward to the last day of grade 4. On the last day of grade 4, all the grade 4 students got to go on a field trip to Fort Calgary. Big deal, man. When you're in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 at River Glen, you're just like, whoa, I cannot wait. Here's a problem for me, though. You say, well, Mike, your school bus experience was tough, but school must have been awesome. No, school was worse than the bus. I was an ADHD kid, and I was terrible at sitting still. I was terrible at paying attention. I was really terrible when the teacher said, be quiet. I was terrible at being quiet. I was in trouble all the time. But man, I'll tell you what, I looked forward to that last day of grade 4. I could tell even at 5 years old that the teachers didn't like me. They wished that someone else had been in their class instead of me. But man, you would watch those grade 4 students. They would go to Fort Calgary. They'd get on the bus with us at the end of their day to go home. And one of the things I noticed is that they always had these paper bags because there was this really cool candy shop in Fort Calgary. And so their paper bags would be full of jawbreakers and candy corn. And the coolest thing was it was like licorice. You're like, yeah, cool. Yeah, but it was licorice that looked like twigs from a tree. Looked so awesome. And sometimes when the grade 4 students would get on the bus, they would share their candy from the candy shop with some of the grade 1s, grade 2s, and grade 3s. Now for me, I wasn't the kind of little boy who anybody shared anything with. But that was okay, because I knew that my chance was going to come. So finally I get into grade 4, go all the way through the year. It's like I'm marking off dates on my calendar almost, you know? And then a couple days before the field trip, the grade 4 teacher, Mr. Falk, called me and he said, hey, Mike, you're not going on the field trip, man. You got in trouble again. Can't trust you. You can't go, you'll ruin it for everybody. You're a behavior problem. You're not going on the field trip to Fort Calgary. So I remember that. I was 9 years old. I remember sitting in an empty classroom all day. One of my enduring memories from that day was I leaned up against a set of dictionaries that overlooked the window. And I stared out the window and I saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buses full of grade 4 students pull out to go to Fort Calgary while I stayed behind. Throughout the day, the principal would poke his head in. Some of the vice principals would come in and look just to make sure I wasn't doing anything crazy, you know? But as far as I can remember, even though I was a real hyperactive kid that day, I didn't move. I just sat there by myself in an empty classroom. It's funny though, because if you would have poked your head in during that day, if you would have looked real careful, you would have noticed that as I stood there leaning against the dictionaries, looking out the window, that standing beside me, if you looked real careful, was a 5-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and a broken heart. And he was me and I was him. Sad, scared, alone. And that day we added a new one, rejected. Isn't it amazing how much you and me have in common? You've been there, right? You know what it feels like to be rejected. My little grade 4 story is nothing compared to what people in this room watching online right now, what some of you have walked through. Nothing. The truth is, some of you have had your mother in a moment of anger look at you and say, I wish you had never been born. For some of you looking back now, you would say that you had a father who continually chose the bottle over you, over and over and over again. Or maybe for you, you had somebody in your life and you were convinced that you were going to spend the rest of your lives together. And then one day they looked at you and they said, you're not coming on the field trip. Isn't it incredible how much you and I have in common? I tried to give that little 5-year-old boy the shake, man. I thought I had slipped away from him during middle school. I got real popular in middle school. The teachers still didn't like me, but I noticed something in middle school. When the teachers don't like you, the students like you more. The next chapter of my Christmas story is set in a hallway on my first day of grade 10. In Red Deer, middle school ends in grade 9 and high school starts in grade 10. And so I went to a brand new school to me, starting high school. I didn't really know anyone at that school. So I remember my first lunch hour on my first day of grade 10. I'm walking down the hallway, and my mom, to kind of show me extra love, to celebrate my first day of high school, that day in my lunch, she packed me 2 wagon wheels instead of 1. If you don't know what a wagon wheel is, you suck. I pity you. But if you know, you know, man. Are you kidding me right now? 2 wagon wheels. And not only that, but instead of just packing me a juice box, that day, my mom packed me a can of pop. C+ orange pop, to be exact. So I'm walking down the hallway living the C+ life, you know? And I come around the corner, and standing there is Rick Larson. Well, we all knew who Rick Larson was. He was the grade 12 captain of the football team, most popular kid in the school. He was surrounded by all the who's who of that school. And as I came around the corner living the C+ life, Rick Larson looks at me and he says, hey, kid, give me your pop. There's a little tiny sliver of hope inside of me. I thought maybe Rick Larson and I were having a game recognizes game moment. You know what I mean? Like Rick Larson was cool, and as he saw me come around the corner, maybe he thought, that kid looks cool too. And touch base, you know? Have a little moment. So that's what I went with. I kept walking, I kind of chuckled, and I pointed at the Ricker as I held my C+ orange pop. And then I realized that we weren't having a game recognizes game moment when suddenly Rick Larson was right here. And he yelled. He yelled so loud that everything in the hallway went completely quiet. He said, hey, kid, give me your pop, or I will bleeping kill you. And so, I gave him my pop. And I walked away while all the most popular kids in that new school laughed at me. It's funny, you know, if you would have been in the hallway that day, if you would have looked really, really carefully, you would have seen walking beside me as I walked away from that crowd of people was a 5-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and a broken heart. And he was looking at me and he was saying, help. I need you to help me. Sad, scared, alone. I was him and he was me. Rejected. And now we added a new one, ashamed. Ashamed. It's incredible, right, how much you and me have in common? You've had your hallway moment, even if it didn't happen in a hallway. You've been ashamed. There's these moments in your life, and it feels like everybody else in the world knows this inside joke, but you don't know it until you come to realize that you're the punchline all along. That the world isn't laughing with you, they're laughing at you because there's something innately embarrassing and flawed and wrong about you. Isn't it amazing how much you and I have in common? As I walked away that day, it's like that little 5-year-old boy was looking at me saying, I need you to help me. And I made a vow. The vow was simple. That's never going to happen again. That'll never happen to me again. We're not going back to the school bus. We're not going back to the empty grade 4 classroom. That will not happen again. In fact, what I decided, I wouldn't have been able to articulate it that way at the time, but here's what I actually decided. I decided, you know what I'll do? I'll become Rick Larson. Because I was convinced that someone like Rick Larson, he never felt sad, scared, alone. He never felt rejected. He never felt ashamed. I was sure of it. And so for me, that started 6 years of insanity. The next chapter of my Christmas story is set in a parking lot. Outside a bar in Red Deer called Esmeralda's. We called it Ezzy's. When I turned 16 years old, a bunch of buddies and me, we all got fake IDs. Started going to the bar every single weekend. Most times we were there, I'd get in fights. I lost some, but I won more than I lost. In fact, I began to develop a little bit of a reputation. It was sort of this: Mike Manis, be careful of that kid. He fights angry. And the reason I said that is because if I was winning a fight and I got somebody down on the ground, I would just keep swinging and swinging and swinging until people pulled me off. You gotta be careful of that Mike Manis. He fights angry. Funny how wrong they were, hey? Because if you would have been in the parking lot of Ezzy's one of those nights, and if you would have looked really, really carefully, you would have seen standing behind me a 5-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and a broken heart. I was fighting for him. I wasn't fighting angry. I was fighting scared. I used girls. I mistreated friends. I worked and worked and worked on this image that I thought was going to be just great. If you would have met me back then, maybe you would have walked away saying, that guy's cool. For sure you would have walked away going, that guy thinks he's cool. That for sure you would have done. He's tough, he's popular. In fact, I'm quite certain you would have walked away thinking, that kid is arrogant. It's funny how wrong you can be, hey? Because what you wouldn't have seen is driving home late at night after another night off the rails on the gravel roads in central Alberta. Beside me in the car was a 5-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and a broken heart, and he was me, and I was him, and he was saying, help me. And man, I was trying, but it wasn't getting better, it was getting worse. Sad, scared, alone, rejected, ashamed, and now we added a new one, guilty. Isn't it amazing how much you and me have in common? See, somewhere along the line in life, you and me both got hurt, right? We've all been hurt. You know what they say about hurting people? You know what hurting people do? Hurting people hurt people, don't they? And so now you got all this stuff that you're fighting for, all this stuff that you're working on. You're scratching and you're clawing to make everything okay with 5-year-old little you or 6-year-old little you or 7-year-old, whatever it is. And now in the midst of it, it doesn't get better. You just add guilt to it. Like, we've all been there. You've had your gravel road moment, even if you've never driven on a gravel. Is there anyone here who's never driven on a gravel road? Hand up. Thank goodness. Okay, so we all have our version of Rick Larson. Even if you never met Rick Larson, right? The world, life teaches you, man, who I am right now, it's not quite good enough. So if I can just become this, it'll be okay. It's not okay. The next chapter of my Christmas story is set in the middle of the night, in the middle of January, in the middle of Red Deer, Alberta. I was at the bar until closing time. Surprise, surprise. My buddies had all gone home earlier, and there I was. The bar closed, you gotta leave, you know? I realized as I was trying to leave that somewhere along the line, I had lost my jacket. So now I'm walking up the South Hill in Red Deer with jeans and a t-shirt. I'm looking up into this massive Alberta sky full of stars, and I'm like, really? This is my life? Are you kidding me right now? It felt like a loser, right? Like everything that I had been fighting for, I thought I was winning, but I was actually losing. I felt like a loser in the truest sense of the word. They say that misery loves company. I think there's something to that. Because I looked up the South Hill of Red Deer that night. You know what I saw? I saw some other loser walking up the hill in the middle of the night too. I felt a bit better. Now, granted, he had a jacket on. So he was walking a little bit slower than me. I eventually caught him. As I caught him and passed him, I looked over. You know who it was? It was Rick Larson. And this little voice inside of me said, man, you've been chasing Rick Larson for 6 years. You caught him. Is it everything you hoped it would be? Is everything okay? If you would have been on the South Hill in Red Deer that night, watching me as I walked away from Rick Larson, 19-year-old punk kid, if you would have looked real careful, you would have seen holding my hand as I walked up the hill, a five-year-old little boy with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kit and a broken heart. And he was looking at me and he was saying, help. I need you to help me. And I'm like, I can't help you. I have done everything I know to do. I've tried everything. I've fought, I've scratched, I've clawed. I can't fix this. Beginning of the sermon, I said that we've been asking this hypothetical question. What if there was no such thing as Christmas? What if there was no such thing as Christmas? If there was no such thing as Christmas, I've described that moment on the South Hill of Red Deer this way before. I've said, I'll come to the end of myself. I'll come to the end of myself. I came to the end of myself. If there was no such thing as Christmas, I would suggest to you that when you come to the end of yourself, you come to the end of the line. If I'm it, that's it. You get what I'm saying? If I'm it, that's it. But here's the good news. There is such thing as Christmas. There's a reason, listen to me, you might be here for the very first time, watching online for the very first time, you've never been a part of a church before. I want you to think, there's a reason why we're still celebrating the birth of Jesus over 2,000 years later. Billions of people around the world are celebrating this week. It's crazy. For hundreds of years before Jesus was born, prophets looked ahead to his arrival. One of my favorite prophecies is one given by a prophet named Isaiah, 700 years before Jesus was born. I love this. It's found in our Old Testament in Isaiah chapter 61. It's amazing because Jesus used this passage when he preached his first sermon. Isaiah 61 says this, "The Spirit of the sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." I want to tell you something. Listen. In the middle of the night, in the middle of January, in the middle of Red Deer, Alberta, this 5-year-old kid with a bicycle jacket and a Snoopy lunch kid is saying, "Help me." And I'm like, "I can't." And next thing I know, I'm calling the same thing he's calling. I'm like, "Help me." Who? Universe. I don't know. I can't do this. Help. I'm crying out, not out loud, but like in the depths of my soul, like I'm shredding the vocal cords of my soul. I'm screaming out for help. And then Jesus showed up. And he spoke to me at the core of who I am in a whisper. Listen, in a whisper that was louder than my screams. And he said, "I'm right here. I'm right here." And here's what I realized. All the stuff that I had been chasing since I was 5 years old and running and fighting and scratching and clawing, you know what I was doing? I was searching for him. And in that moment, I realized that he'd been searching for me all along. He extended his hand. He said, "Hey, how about it?" And I took it, and he saved me. And he took hold of that 5-year-old little boy. And he said, "It's gonna be okay." And it was, and it is. And that prophecy came true in the middle of the night, in the middle of January, in the middle of Red Deer, Alberta. You know what he's been doing? He's been binding up my broken heart. He's been releasing me from sad, scared, alone, rejected, ashamed. And he set me free from guilt. It's funny because if you asked me to describe that moment on the South Hill of Red Deer, I would call it this maybe, a divine appointment. A divine appointment. To use a biblical phrase, at just the right time. At just the right time. At just the right time, Jesus met me. That's a divine appointment. It's kind of cool, like the spiritual meets the physical at just the right time. Well, that brings me to the next chapter of my Christmas story. When I stand up here and I tell you that it's the greatest honor of my life to be with you today, I'm not kidding. I made a decision that night, and I've been remaking it my whole life, that I will spend the rest of my days telling people about Jesus. Everything you're fighting for, everything you're scratching for, everything you're clawing for, you're just looking for him. And here's the thing, he's looking for you. That's the message of Christmas. Divine appointment at just the right time, at just the right time, at just the right time. Isn't that funny? Like, I don't know why you think you're here. Maybe you think you're here because you responded to a social media ad or a friend invited you. So cool, you know? Maybe they bribed you. Maybe they told you, "Hey, you want to go for lunch?" And you're like, "Sure." And they said, "I'll drive." And then they pulled in here. And you're like, "What?" And you're like, "Well, we're just making a quick stop before we go for lunch." This is Southside, so maybe they kidnapped you, put you in the trunk of their car and let you out now. And if that's the case for you, honestly, I'm super sorry. But I am glad you're here. Okay, because at just the right time, at just the right time. See, what you're currently experiencing is a middle of the night, middle of January, middle of Red Deer moment, even if you've never been to Red Deer. How dare you, by the way, if you never have been to Red Deer? You understand what I'm saying? This is it. I don't know what your image is. I don't know the external message you send to the world. It's probably a lot better than 19-year-old Mike Manis was doing, you know? Beautiful, handsome, accomplished, successful, wealthy, winner. Love it. Good. Now, can we just move that aside for a second? How you doing? Still fighting? Still scratching? Still clawing? He's searching for you in this spectacular moment. He stepped into human history on a rescue mission looking for you. He died so that you can be forgiven. He rose again so that you can step out of all of the hurt and all of the heartbreak. And his plan for you is a forever plan. It starts right now. He extends his hand. Would you take it? Let's pray. With all heads bowed and all eyes closed, I'm going to put this really simple. I believe there's people watching online. I believe there's people in this room right now. This is your moment. It's a divine appointment. At just the right time, God called you here. Everything that needed to be done has already been done. So if today is your day that you would accept his salvation, accept his forgiveness, accept his life and his healing, with heads bowed and eyes closed, can you raise your hand right now so I can pray for you? Nice and high if you don't mind. Incredible. If you're watching online, I'd love it if you could raise your hand too. There's something powerful about that. You can put your hands down. I'm going to pray out loud. I invite you to pray silently along with me. So Jesus, thank you. Thank you for this spectacular moment. Today I give you my life. I give you my hurt. I pray that you would heal me. I know you will. I give you my guilt. I thank you for my forgiveness. And thank you for a fresh start, a new beginning. Thank you that for the rest of my life, this is my moment. This is my divine appointment that I will tell my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids about. In your name, amen. Amen. Let's celebrate. Told you. There's a back cover. It's not mine, right? It's ours. It's ours. Hey, so I feel like we know each other really well now. If you're here for the first time, I hope that maybe I've earned from you just a tiny little bit of trust, just a tiny little bit. Okay, first thing you can do is actually, can you turn on your little candle things that you got when you walked in? Yeah, love it, love it, love it. You can stand up. So I hope you have just a little bit of trust for me. So here's what I want to tell you. We're just a few days away from the end of 2024, and then 2025 comes, right? And we're going to see people talking about this. New year, new me. New year, new me in 2025. No. That's not God's plan for you. Listen to me very carefully. God's plan for you in 2025. Some people are gonna make resolutions. I'm gonna look alive in 25. I'm gonna get in shape. Awesome, love it, go for it. I'm gonna be smarter in 2025. Well, I would hope so, you know what I mean? But you know, I'm gonna work on mental acuity. Great, awesome. But it's not new you in 2025. Here's the goal, here's the dream, here's what the world desperately needs, here's what your family desperately needs. More you. There's a God who created you. And it's there. I don't know what life has done to hide it, but it's there. And what I believe 2025 is going to be is a year where you're going to become more you than the world has ever seen. It's going to be breathtaking. So man, I hope you get in shape. Good for you. I hope you get smart. Awesome. But the only thing that's going to unlock you, the truest version of you that the world has ever seen, is the God who created you. It starts deep down inside. So I got a plan. You're gonna love it. You might not love it, but I think you'll love it. Listen, January 5th, Sunday, we're gonna be here. I'll be here. You should come. You should come. You should make 2025 a year where you decide you're gonna be more you than you've ever been before. So we're gonna meet here on Sunday, January 5th. On your way out, the ushers are gonna give you a little invite. You should make a plan to be here. We'll party. You say, hey, I'm not much of a church person. Are you kidding me? Do you think I am? I'm the pastor. Anyways, I love you. We're going to turn the lights down low just in case I've put a hole in my pants sometime during the sermon, because you know that they wouldn't tell me if I did. Merry Christmas, you guys.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine. Oh, night when Christ was born. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we, let all
Thank you for coming, everyone. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas, and we will see you in the new year.